Okay. Welcome back. A little bit of a delay between episodes. Title's still up in the air, but I'm Joey and this is Casey. And we'll be
Hmm.
talking about Premier League game week 18, these fixtures that are starting tomorrow, the 30th through the January 1st. We'll be going over five games, some of the games that we feel are important, and then we always talk about Tottenham, who I support, and Everton, who Casey supports. And then we'll be given a
Sorry.
lock. Hopefully it hits. We'll be starting fresh, 0-0. And then we'll finish by talking about fantasy, FPL to be exact.
Hmm.
All right.
How
The
about that
first,
World Cup?
uh,
Sorry, I had to
well,
mention it.
I know you wanted to, but we missed an episode. So we can
I
just,
know. No, we're fine. I
good for
just wanted
Messi.
best game I've ever seen in my life, by the
That's
way.
fair.
And
We can address that
I've watched
a lot,
numerous
a lot.
soccer games in my life. Best one I've ever seen. So happy about everything about it. Anyways, EPL time now. It's over
Okay.
and done.
The first game's going to be on Friday. We want to talk about is the Liverpool Leicester game.
Yeah. Yeah, this is there actually is something I want to mention about Leicester right now. So Leicester obviously had a really disappointing first go at this season. In the fall, they were very disappointing. They were conceding goals left and right. Um, it was tough looks for them. I don't think they're a bad team by any means, but they really needed some luck to go their way. And of course, the first game that they play coming back from the break, obviously there's months and months of break, and they were looking for this fixture to work out for them. And unfortunately, this was probably the worst situation possible for Leicester going against at home, one of the most exciting, newer, just like shinier new teams in EPL. Newcastle's really good. Get it through your heads, people. We have a good friend of ours that is very confused, and he has interesting takes on some things, but he just can't fathom Newcastle being good. And so, just for all the people that need to hear this, Newcastle is good
Yeah.
now. They are very good. So, nightmare for Leicester. They looked absolutely atrocious defensively. Newcastle overran them 3-0.
It was 1-0 in the third minute, too. It
Ugh,
was,
it was bad. And so this is in coordination with their upcoming game against Liverpool. Uh, again, I Liverpool's rolling right now. They have their stuff figured out. Again, they went through kind of a tough period. Um, I think Liverpool rolls Leicester here. I think Leicester's going to continue to tumble. Especially that was a stab in the heart. That Newcastle loss, they were booed off at halftime, like
yep.
crazy booed. Um, and now you have to go to Anfield and play an informed Liverpool. I don't see it for
Yep.
Leicester. I see it's being a very disappointing game for them again.
It doesn't help that James Madison is injured. Every team is bad
Oh, absolutely. That's
without their best
massive.
best player too. But I don't think that Newcastle game would have gone any differently. Maybe they would have got one, you know, somewhere in there, and it might have been 3-1. But I don't think a healthy James Madison puts Leicester over Newcastle. So, like you said, going into Anfield, playing this pretty well-oiled Liverpool team, Nunez is going to get these chances, and all these jokes we make about all of his missed big chances. Uh, he should have his way with these center backs, especially with I can't pronounce his name, Faiz, whoever he is. He
Face.
seems to be the better
Yeah,
of the two, but it's
he's still
doesn't mean
been
he's good.
really shaky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm totally in agreement with you, and maybe we'll see a Darwin goal after he gets 8 shots and none of
Yeah,
them on target. So,
or a straight red. You know how he is.
yeah.
And then next, we can these both at Saturday at 9 a.m. We can either do the Newcastle or City game.
So the Newcastle.
Just
Let's
because
start with
first.
the Newcastle game. Yeah.
Okay,
Um, this is a super exciting game.
it sure
I'm
is.
definitely going to be tuning into this and loosely watching Everton City. But this is a really exciting game. I mean, Leeds games are always exciting, to be honest. Like they have such a play style that when they go up against good teams who score goals, it's always exciting. I see there being lots of chippy fouls in this one. I see that it's being heated, fast paced. Ultimately, I can see Leeds upsetting Newcastle here. I don't think it'll happen, but if there's one team to do it, it's a team that high presses, gives an entire intensity, like the word intensity, a whole new meaning, and that's Leeds. So it's just going to be a really, really good game. Um, Hopefully Miguel Almiron keeps his run going. I love thinking that there's a Major League Soccer legend that is doing really, really well in the Premier League. So yeah, we'll have to see. I see this being a high scoring, very intense game.
Yeah, I completely agree with all of that, especially the kind of emphasis on intensity. Even at the end of the Leeds City game, not last week, but last game week, they got that goal off the corner, and then Aronson down the left side, passing it to Greenwood, who then hit Sam Gelhart and it just missed the post. Like, Newcastle could go up 1-0, 2-0 early, but it does not mean that Leeds are going to be defeated by that. It's going to be a nonstop 90 minutes. And it seems like they're growing into the team that Jesse Marsch is having to worry about who he starts and who he doesn't start, because Greenwood, I think his name's Sam. He's a super sub. We've got plenty of super subs that are going to come on and raise their already very intense level of play. So,
yeah, they've got random kids coming out of the woodworks too. I think that's something that I'm really impressed with Jesse Marsch about. Of course, he's got his faults, but I think one thing, especially with this Leeds team, is he's brought players up from youth leagues. He's entrusted, kind of new a new trust in some of his new players. Specifically, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but Gnonto. He's brand new guy who just made his national team debut for Italy. He's 19 years old. He's a left winger. He looked pretty good last game. He had some silky dribbling about him. He's really small and quick, but he was doing some backheel passes. He was doing some nice megs and shifts. If he can get that end product down, I can see him being a very interesting kind of out of nowhere type of player for Leeds. And of course, he has that high intensity and character that fits Leeds really well. So yeah, lots of exciting stuff going on with Leeds. Of course, Newcastle is pretty much a behemoth now, so we'll see how they've got a really good defense, so we'll see how Leeds fares against that. But it should be intense.
Yeah, we go to the City Everton game now. Yeah.
Okay.
Newcastle defense is
How
gonna be
How about that
big.
loss? How about that?
I wish I could say I watched 1 minute of that game, but all I saw was the foot mob. I didn't even see how they scored in the 95th minute, besides them scoring that late.
It's the most Everton thing I've ever seen in my life. So now here's another most Everton thing I might see in my life is us tying 1-1 away to City somehow, some way. Everton just seems to play like that. We'll lose against one of the worst low scoring teams in the league at home to a 95th minute, whatever the hell that goal was. And then we'll go to Manchester City and get a draw or something like that. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, Haaland, there's no telling what will happen. I will say I do think we have the center backs to be able to deal with Haaland at least a little bit. In terms of fighting his strength, that's one of his best attributes. He's got a lot of speed, but he's also strong. So he goes up against, your Virgil van Dijks and your John Stoneses and, a lot of the bigger guys in the EPL. Newcastle's entire defense is huge. He'll go up against guys like that and he can muscle them. He's one of the very few strikers in the league that's able to do that and still get shots off. So we've Tarkowski, Connor Cody, Yerry Mina's back. We've got some big center backs. I would love to see them be able to defend Haaland the best they can. I think he will score again. That's probably a safe bet. But I think this one comes down to our midfield, to be honest, because I think we have a strong midfield now. Hopefully, we can link up some of the other sides of the squad. But I've liked what I've seen from Iwobi, from Idrissa Gueye, and Onana. I think it's a pretty solid midfield three, and especially when we know we're going to have to sit back and just kind of weather the storm. I feel like we're good at that, to an extent at least. So we'll see how this goes. I'll be tuning in, of course. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 3-0, 4-0, something like that. I doubt we score a goal. But it should be interesting to see if we can hold some of their key players.
I was gonna say this is a contender for one of our buddies' bets who has like over 7 on City to win by 5+ goals. Like this is definitely a contender.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I mean, I get that in terms of like, I hate my team so much that they would pull something out of their ass on the very next game. Like I understand that, but this is a City home game. You know, they
Yeah.
put 3 up.
Against a really bad team. I mean, at the surface, that's what it is.
They put 3 up against Leeds, and I know you watched the game, but they didn't get their first goal till the 45th minute when Jack Grealish missed 2 big chances. Holland missed, I think, 1 big one-on-one chance, and then had like a smaller one, all in the first half though. So this could be 3-0 at halftime. It could be 3-0 by the 30th minute, but I don't really see that, you know, Everton getting that tie, or, you know, whatever you were saying or assuming. I don't see that happening.
Yeah. A low scoring draw or something like that. It'd be the most Everton thing ever.
It really would.
Okay.
Next one we can go to is that Brighton Arsenal game at 11:30. The
Good game.
Latest game on my lock is in this game. Oh, sorry if you wanted to mention your lock, unless you're changing it.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna keep it there. So Everton's spread is at +2.5 right now. I would just take that. I think that's my lock of the week. Of course, it would be really embarrassing if they get 5-0, 6-0, and I'm like, well, there it is. But there's something about Everton against the big dogs. It's been a thing for us for years now. We'll lose in the shittiest way to Wolves at Goodison, 2-1, 95th minute, conceding the winner. But for years, for some reason, we lock it down versus the big boys, and I might as well keep it that way.
Sure.
Even if we do lose, 2-0, 3-1, something like that, that's still a good win for City and a bad loss for Everton. But that spread is big. That's a lot of goals. I mean, it is City, but in soccer terms, 3 goals, winning by 3 goals is a big spread. So that would be my lock for the week.
Well, I'll start out then. My lock of the week
This
is
is big.
the under in this game. And if you wouldn't mind going to the Bovada for me, I assume 2.5. If it's not good, I'll gladly take an Arsenal spread here. But yeah, I'll take that under 2.5. Arsenal,
Yeah.
one of the main reasons why they're so far up in the table is that they are going and winning and getting results away from home, just like any good team having a good season. So they're fresh off a 3-1 win against West Ham. Last away game, 2-0 win against Wolves. One before that, 1-0 against Chelsea. One before that, 1-1 draw against Southampton. The one before that, 1-0 against Leeds. So you're seeing a consistent theme here. I'm not tactically aware enough to know what they are doing. And I know Brighton's a sneaky team. They play their way. We talked about before about a lot of their creativity comes from their wing backs, and I'll touch about this on the FPL review too, but I've got 2 Arsenal defenders in my FPL team. I'm excited / confident for this game. If Brighton score, I don't see them getting more than 1. And I think it would take a big team mistake from Arsenal to concede in this game, like a bad pass or someone gets caught in the ball or like some janky deflection.
Yeah. I'm with you I'm with you on the under. I think this is going to be a very tactical, methodical type of game. I mean, this is obviously it's a huge game for Brighton, playing at home to the number one team in the league in current standings, but also with Arsenal. This is why they're in first this season is playing in matchups like this where they go and they play their game, they take their chances. It's usually pretty even games in something like this because Brighton is not a bad team whatsoever. They have good players and they play good soccer. So a lot of this is going to be partially about Arsenal weathering kind of a storm. I think Brighton is going to create a good amount of chances. But Arsenal is going to focus on slowing the game down, making sure this is very methodical. And I think Arsenal grabbing a 1-0, maybe 2-0, possibly even like a 2-1 type of win or a 1-1 draw, something along those lines seems to fit here. I think it's going to be a methodical game. This suspension here is huge, actually, and I didn't know that was a thing. Caicedo has been one of the best players for Brighton, not in a flashy Trossard type of way, but in just a lock it down in that center mid spot with a high work rate, smart decisions. So that's actually huge for Brighton.
It's funny you say it's funny you say smart decisions. The reason he's out is because it's a yellow card accumulation. But maybe they're all tactical fouls. Maybe they're smart tactical fouls.
You love the CDM who gets the smart tactical fouls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I like that pick on this one. That'll be a good game. That'll be a very intense, methodical game for sure.
All right. To round it off, we've got my Coys. We've got Tottenham against Aston Villa, the Sunday game, 8 a.m. Central. I'm still in that phase of like, Casey had texted me asking about how I felt about this Brentford game, and I told him, Brentford spread was the bet because I even said I don't even know who it's going to be, but some random player is going to score first, and then I told him no to Ivan Toney, and granted he scored later, but I just knew that breakthrough goal was going to come from someone random, but. Just waited to the second half in classic Tottenham fashion. Just start trying so late, and then we hit him with all this momentum and all this kind of possession in the final third in like the 85th minute. So we have like 5 minutes plus stoppage to try and get a result when against good teams. I mean, Brentford's they're not top 6, but they're able to hold their own at home. I mean, they beat United 4-0 at home earlier in the season, but with this game, I don't know if Emi Martinez is going to be back. I don't think it's going to make a difference. This screams like either Villa will win 1-0 or it's 3-2 or I think it's going to be more than 2-1. This could be an over, but I do think both teams are going to score in this game.
Yeah. I actually this isn't from a tactics perspective, and this is really just because of Unai Emery and the way that I know he used to play at Villarreal. And now with Aston Villa, he seems like he's doing the same thing. He's going to let Tottenham have all the possession. They're going to let Tottenham have all the possession, and that's
Which when
is the
Tottenham
exact
opposite
struggles.
of how. Yeah, it's the exact opposite of how we play. We are countering. That's how we play.
So Tottenham's going to have a lot of the possession, and Villa's going to look for the counter. And Unai Emery knows how to build a squad of counter-attacking players. This is why he likes Leon Bailey so much. FPL ears perking right now. Obviously, Leon Bailey has been, if you're deep into FPL research and whatnot and experienced with it, you'd probably know that Leon Bailey has been in the discussion all season as like a cheap midfielder.
He's been a troll.
Really good. He's been a troll. At the end of the day, that's what he's been. Unai Emery has seemed to take a big liking to him. It'll be interesting. He still could be a quote unquote troll at this point. He played in a very, very advanced striker type of position last game. He had 3 shots, one of them being on goal. I think he has gained a lot of trust in terms of just who he is as a player. I mean, he's quick, he's fast, he runs, he does those bolting sprints down the line. He's a good player for that type of system. And it seems like Unai Emery is taking a liking to him. So I still believe that he is a quality, cheap midfielder from an FPL perspective. And I think he could honestly do some damage against Tottenham, because Tottenham, with all the possession, Conte just doesn't know. I don't know. It's tough.
Well,
There have been
what's
past.
what's
Sorry, go
tough is
ahead.
it's when you have a back line of Longley, Dyer, and Tanganga starting.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what's tough.
Yeah, whenever you play in a Conte system that you also want to be able to play well when you have a lot of possession, you need center backs who are pristine passers.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, just Tottenham just doesn't have that right now, especially with Romero out as well. I would imagine he's still not going to be in for this game too.
I think so.
Also, Bentancur injury, that sucks. I mean, Bentancur is a solid player for you
He said
guys.
it
So
says he's gonna be back soon, so I'm not too stressed about it. But we've got the
yeah,
goat Kjoberg in the midfield, and Basuma looked fine too. He played all 90, which was good to see.
yeah.
We need a little sun resurgence. I don't know if it's coming the rest of the season. I think he's on not the deep drop off, but I think he's on the back end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so that was our kind of recap or excuse me, coverage of some of these premier games this weekend, including the Everton Tottenham game. We've given our locks, and if you don't mind just saying again so I can clip it, I've got the Arsenal Brighton under 2.5.
And then I've got Everton plus 2.5 spread away to City.
Quite the pick to start off of. We're 0-0, hopefully to be 1-0. But for all our countless viewers, we encourage you guys to take our picks and then add one onto it and parlay them. And
All
then
three.
all three, and hopefully we can get a nice little run going of wins.
Slap $5 on there. Won't do you much.
Mm-hmm. All right. So fantasy wise, I can go ahead and start. I talked about it in that Arsenal Brighton game. I kind of went off the template. I got 80 points last week, which was, I think, 8 or 9 points above the average. Still a slight red arrow, but I will never complain about an 80-point week. I've got Salah, KDB, Holland, so that's all template, and I've got Almiron and Trippier. Outside of that, it's really not that much of a template team. I missed out on that Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard, Hall. I have Ericsson, so that's outside of it. I don't have Rashford, but I like how my team is set up. I think moving forward, I'm excited about my double Arsenal defense, and then having that Mitrovic news, and for him to start and do all that. I'm taking solace in that Crystal Palace had 9 men, but I'm very nervous about missing out on him because I went Solanke thinking Mitrovic was going to be out for this game,
Yeah.
and then he's got a yellow card suspension. He's one away from missing a game, so I stayed clear and got screwed over for it.
Yeah. Yeah, this template has been pretty strong coming
Agreed.
back after
Yep.
the World Cup. I had a really good week. I got 97 points last week, won my cup as well.
Damn, who'd you 97?
Yeah, I had a very good week. I mean, Kepa got 9.
That's right.
He's still secret sauce, people, for FPL. I mean, you have a starting goalkeeper on Chelsea that's 4.5 right now, and he's looked really good recently. He's still only 6.3% owned. I don't know who the top keeper owned is or what their percentage is like, but that is a very good price point, pretty low selection.
Sure.
I mean, he's great. I had James as well, of course. It was very, template choice to choose James. He's now out of my squad, and I'm totally okay with just keeping my only Chelsea player is going to be Kepa for now. I'm just going to keep an eye on how they look.
An eye on Havertz for sure.
Yeah. Another double up recommendation is Newcastle. You got to have Kieran Trippier. I know it's super template. I mean, he's extremely highly owned at 66.5% right now, but he is an FPL dream. He's a fantasy dream for this.
He's
so
TAA from
you definitely want to have
ago.
him. Right. Yeah. He does everything you'd want from a fantasy perspective. I also brought in Robertson. Love how far down he's gone. I have De Bruyne and Holland, captain to Holland. I have Salah as my only, or no, I have Robertson as well. I made a switch to Odegaard instead of Martinelli. which I think I'll ride for a little while. I was super high on Odegaard before
Yeah,
the season even started.
it took him a bit
And I
to
never
find that kind of
sure
goal scoring, or at
to
least
actually have those FPL returns come his
Mhm.
way rather than like, three big chances created in the game, but with no actual FPL returns. And then I have Miguel Almiron. I'm going to keep riding him into the
Yep.
sun until something happens. I also have Leon Bailey. He is kind of my cheap midfielder that I'm going for right now. I'm going to see how it works out, but I've been enjoying watching this Villa team under Unai Emery. And then I really like this pick. Is Anthony Martial.
Yep.
So he's my only United player. However, I did transfer out James and I brought in Luke Shaw.
Yep. I got
Um,
Luke Shaw. He had a nice little 8 points from him this week.
yeah. So Anthony Martial is really fun because obviously there's been a striker void at United since Ronaldo has been taking up that space, and now Martial just has all the room in the world to take up that position, score goals, lock himself down as that starting striker spot on a really good team. Really, the only other person I would be concerned about him competing with that I don't have is Rashford.
Mhm.
Rashford is very template right now. He's a good cheap midfielder. He's catching his form. He looked so good last
He
game.
sure did.
So that's the only thing I'm worried about. I don't what's Rashford's ownership, to be honest, because
It's
Martial here is at 5.7%. And he's kind of a differential pick for me because I know a ton of people have Rashford. So if there's any week where Rashford blanks but Martial scores or anything, that would be very, very good.
That's why I went Ericsson, because I mean, also swore to myself that I wouldn't pick Rashford because I had him the first 2 game weeks when United
You
were like a
both of our
dumpster
timing
fire.
with Rashford was terrible. We
Sold
both had
him
him
because
on.
I thought United are off, they're done, which was so
Yeah.
stupid of me. Pauls, bring him back in for a few weeks before World Cup, nothing. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm not picking Rashford again. So I go Ericsson. Well, if you look back at it, the two of the last 3 games before you finish, I think he had 8 and 15 points. So like it wasn't like a shot in the dark. He got the assist,
Yeah.
and he actually had a long shot that was blocked where I knew if it was on target, it was dipping and swerving and bang in. But
Yeah.
uh, I think that I'm gonna enjoy. I meant to mention I have Callum Wilson as well, who didn't play, and I think I would have touched that 90 mark if he played. I mean, they had a penalty call within the first 3 minutes. Um, Chris Wood scored, so I assume Callum Wilson will score. Whatever. That it should be a fine pick going forward, because I used to have Trippier Botman. Now Botman's one of the best differential picks. He's 4.4, starts every like all 90 minutes, and he gets 1 or 2 bonus points every now and then. But it blocks up that third Newcastle spot when you have Trippier and Almiron. I just decided to
Mhm.
go Wilson and let that ride.
Yeah, honestly, I think Newcastle is actually going to change up a little bit. I mean, ASM is probably going to be coming back.
Mhm. And Isaac
Callum
too as
Wilson,
well.
yeah, Isak is coming back
Oh
too.
yeah, Isak.
They're going to see some switches in the forward, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes for them and who kind of comes out on top.
We've
Um,
got about 4 minutes left. Why don't you go ahead and give a pick? I mean, I know you just talked about your transfers, but maybe if you could think of someone else, I'll go first to
yeah,
let you
yeah, go
go.
for
But
it.
just fantasy wise, so I mentioned Botman, but I think one to look out for would be, and it's kind of a premium pick. I think it's kind of the idea of doubling up on KDB and Salah. Uh, Nunez is not firing, but he's being dangerous enough to where it's taking kind of that coverage away, defensive coverage away from Salah. Jota's out. Luis Diaz is out, and we saw first game back how influential and how hungry Salah was. KDB looked amazing too. I don't know if you saw his little flick pass to Joe Lewis, who then, squared it to Grealish and missed. But I think it's not just a player to look forward to. I think it's doing what you can to get both of those guys in your team, because there's midfielders in
Yeah.
this game like Almiron, like Martinelli, like Odegaard, like Leon Bailey. I mean, guys like that can fill those other spots. So you can look to bring in those two heavy hitters in the midfield.
Yeah, I would say, and I'm surprised I went no Cancelo. I don't have any City defense,
I didn't
but
go
I
Catilli either.
I did De Bruyne, Salah, and Holland. So if you got to get those three into your team, to be honest, because it's unless I mean, if you're really serious about this game, I know it's very template, but you'll have to mix and match around with some of the other players. But those are three very key players that are on an upward trend that you just got to have. because
Yep.
of their ownership. Um, I would say my player, it's I'm gonna try for a really couple really sneaky players real quick. So first is Saeed Ben Rama. I
Mhm.
think Ben
Oh yeah.
Rama could definitely be very sneakily back. I think he looked really good last game, especially, and he used to be a really good FPL asset alongside Antonio. So I'm keeping an eye out for him. There's also Wilfred Gnonto
Mhm.
for Leeds. He's a 5.0 striker right now. He is going to be starting over Jack Harrison for the foreseeable future, I would imagine. We'll see if he starts versus Newcastle. He looked really dangerous, really good. I can see him getting some returns, extremely low ownership as well, 0.2%. If you're weak in that area, I mean, and you really need to play catch up, he could be a decent shout.
All right. One more, or was that it? Was that
Those are the two that I could think of right now that I
and
really
I'll
like.
as I was listening to you speak, as I heard me say, "Oh, you got to bring in KDB and Salah." Yeah, no shit, Joey. So I'll throw one else or throw one more in, and I think Erickson. I think Erickson's gonna be a fun one to consider. Rashford cannot score every week. I hope. I pray. But even though Erickson lines up in the CDM role, every single attack you see him as that trailing runner in, and he's got the ability to take a first time touch to body feint, curl one back post. So I think he's definitely one to look forward to, and he's going to play 70, 80 minutes every game.
I like it. Yeah,
All right,
I
let me wrap it
agree.
up. Wrap it up really quick. All right, that was our game week 18 preview. Look out for us earlier in the week next week or somewhere in between where we reviewed this game week, see how we did, see how the bets did, and then we will preview game week 19.
All righty.